Hello and welcome to lesson 2-1. This one is titled, Did You Pass the Test? It's on page 155 of your textbook, and we're going to be learning about using measures of average. So we're going to go through the classwork together. So towards the middle of page 155, they have us looking at some exam information, how we prepare for exams. So it says we're going to look at exams in a math course. So before we get into doing the statistical analysis of the scores, we want to talk a little bit about how we approach a math class. So think in your mind real quickly of some ideas you might use to prepare for an exam. Some people may make flashcards, practice review sheets, going to the tutor, making a list of everything you know, making a note sheet. Those are some good ways to study. What are some habits you have seen or you have that are not helpful in preparing for an exam? I'm sure everyone can think of a few as you're thinking through this. Some things are staying up all night studying, cramming, rather than studying over the course of a semester, trying to do it all in one night. Studying the wrong stuff, getting too tired, not eating, that kind of thing. Number 3 says, what are some strategies you use during an exam? So during an exam, you might go through and do all the problems you know first, and then come back and do the harder ones. You might jot down some information that you might need as soon as you get your test. If there's formulas you might know that you weren't allowed to have a note sheet for, as soon as you get that test, you do what's called a brain dump and get all that information written down for you. I've also heard some people who will chew gum while they're studying, and then they chew the same flavor of gum while they take the test, and it's supposed to help with recall. When a test has been graded and returned, students and instructors are usually interested in knowing what the class average was. What do you think average means? Not formulas yet. We'll get there on the next page. So a lot of you may have different ideas of what average is. Sometimes we use average as representative. On the next page, we get into some more interesting details with the mathematics part of it. This is page 156 in your textbook. It says in math and stats, the term average is sort of a generic term with several interpretations. Loosely defined, the average of a list of numbers is the most typical value. But what does that mean? Is it the one that appears the most often? Is it the one right in the middle? Or is it some other combination of that? There are 3 different measures of average that we'll be studying in lesson 2-1. They all fall under the category of averages, and sometimes they have completely different values. So knowing how to interpret it's pretty important. The first one we're going to talk about is the mean. So again, another purple box tells us some information. Mean is probably what you usually think of when you think of average. It is where you add up all the numbers and then divide by how many there are. So we're looking at exam 1. So this is the table here, and we're going to add up all of those numbers. So I'm going to add up, Michael was an 80, and I can calculate it into sleep. Add it on. All right, so Michael was an 80. We're going to take Michael's score plus the 77 of Andy plus 68 plus 81 plus 96 plus 54 plus 75 plus 81 plus 71 plus 89 plus 56 plus 81 plus 92 for a grand total of 1001. So if we add up all the scores, we get 1001. And then my rule says that I want to divide that by how many test scores there were. If I count all the names, I will see that there are 13 names. So I'm going to take 1001 divided by 13. And let's see what we get. My mean is 77%. So that's one of the averages on this test is a 77%. We could look at, and that would be the mean, where you add them all up, divide by how many there are. The next one we're going to talk about is the median. The median literally means the middle number. So if your test scores are in order from lowest to highest or highest to lowest, it's going to be the very middle number. Step 3 mentions if you have 2 numbers left, you add them and then divide by 2. You take the average of the 2 middle ones. So we could take exam 1 and write them all in order from lowest to highest or highest to lowest. We can do a shortcut way of doing that though, where we cross off high and low pairs. So if I look at exam 1, I'm going to look for the highest test score on there, which I believe is the 96. If I cross off the 96, then I have to cross off a low number to go with it. Well, I think our lowest score on the test was the 54. And I'll do these in different colors so you can see which pairs are going together. Of the numbers that are left on exam 1, what's the highest score left? I believe it's 92, and I believe the lowest is a 56 from what's left. Let's find another pair. Out of the scores that are left, the highest score is 89, and the lowest score I am seeing is 68. Out of what's left, the highest score looks like 81 to me, and the lowest score is, I see 71. Our numbers are getting closer as we get closer to the middle. Out of what's left, the highest score would be an 81. The lowest score would be a 75. I think we have to do this one more time and then we'll be there. Out of the 3 scores that are left, the highest is an 81. The lowest is a 77, leaving my median at an 80. So the middle score, or the median, is an 80%. And again, that's another form of average. But it's different from our mean. So we've already calculated 2 averages, and we've already seen that they're a little bit different. The last one we're going to talk about is, I scrolled right past it. I apologize for that. At the bottom of page 156, we're going to talk about the mode. The mode is defined as the most occurring. What number occurs the most in the list? So if we go back up to our list and look at it, the number that occurs the most, and I kind of noticed this when I was doing the median, is 81. We said 81 a few times. So the mode is 81%. On the next page, they give you a really nice solved example on page 157. And then on page 158, they show you how to use a spreadsheet to calculate these. The only other thing I would like to do is show you how to use your graphing calculator to do these. So if you've got a graphing calculator, it's good to learn how to do all this stuff on here. Everything statistics lives in the stat menu of this calculator. There's a button to the left of the gray arrows that says stat. So it's just below the delete button. If I push the stat button, I get edit, calc, and tests across the top. And the first thing I want to do is edit because I want to enter something into the list. I'm only going to be working with L1 right now. If you happen to have numbers in here, you can arrow up. So the highlighting is on L1 and then hit clear, enter, and it will empty out any numbers you have in that list. So I'm going to type the scores in again. We'll type Michael in. Then we had a 77 after his score, and then a 68. And then an 81. And then I think a 96. I'm having a hard time reading through what I crossed out. I have it in my booklet, that'll work. And then after the 96 was a 54. After the 54 was a 75. Then an 81. Then a 71. 89. Oops, let's get rid of that. 71, and then I have to hit enter. And then an 89, and then enter. And then a 56, and then enter. And then an 81, enter. And then a 92. And we did say there were 13 scores, so I feel pretty confident that I got all the scores because my last number was on number 13. I would definitely go back and check all these and make sure they match, because if I make a mistake here, it's going to mess up my answers. Now, I'd like to make my calculator find the mean and median for me. So I go back to that stat menu, the stat button that's just below the delete button. Same place we were before. We got edit, calc, and test. I want to arrow over to calculate because I want to calculate something this time. And mean, median, mode are under one variable statistics. Mean and median are. I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit enter a few times until my calculator starts giving me some answers. Look at the first number we got, 77. So the X with the bar over it is your mean. That is the 77 we found. If I scroll down a little bit in my list using my arrows, I'll get to one that says MED. That is the median. That matches our 80. and the calculator on this list does not find the mode. So you will get in your groups to practice some more finding mean, median, mode and talking all about average.